Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all back to the Boombox Guru channel. I'm your host, LB. So, got another album review for you today. This was another one coming from my favorite rapper of all time, Snoop Dogg. I've been on a Snoop Dogg kick for the past week or so. Actually, more of a Death Row Records kick. I've been listening to a lot of classic Death Row Records albums, especially since I've been on this mission to like collect a lot of the first pressings of a lot of those classic records that came out on that label, man. I even been listening to Suge Knight's new podcast called Collect Call, where he's been telling some interesting stories about that particular era and everything like that. So it's just kind of got me inspired to want to talk about a lot of these records. So today, today's album review is we actually gonna be talking about Snoop's second studio album, his follow up to the massively successful Doggystyle, which is The Doggfather, released in 1996, man. November 12th, 1996. So this album actually just celebrated an anniversary. Guess what? About 27 years now. And this is the first pressing that I recently have gotten in the mail as of the recording of this video. You can see it's got the Death Row Records Interscope label logos on the back. Really cool cover art as well. This is the 2001 reissue. This is the one that my late mother bought me back in the day. She actually bought me this for my it was my birthday. Yeah, I remember it was my birthday. I remember it was right after school that Friday. It was me, her, and my grandma. We went to Best Buy, and she bought me this, and I forget what else. I think Mystical's Tarantula had came out that year too. I think she got me that. I can't quite remember, but I do remember she buying me this one. And the remaster versions actually came in a slip case. There was a slip case over the CD case. I don't know what happened to that slip case. Ain't no telling what happened to it. That's been years ago. But yeah, this is the 2001 digital remaster one. Enhanced CD. Comes with a video of the Doggfather, which I kind of thought was the wrong choice. I thought they should have had the Snoop's Upside Your Head music video, because I always thought that was the bigger song. But yeah, I just wanted to show y'all that right quick, man. But the Doggfather, man, this is probably, I don't know if polarizing. I guess polarizing would be the right word for this album, because there's always been like a mixed reaction between fans of this record, man. Because you got some fans that love this album, and then you got some Snoop fans that hate this record. Me, I actually love this album. I actually enjoy this record. And when I went back and re-listened to this album, preparing for this review, I actually was reminded how much I enjoyed this record. But I will be honest with you, when you put this album up against Doggystyle, it definitely pales in comparison. That's just honest. I mean, there's a huge difference in those records, which of course it makes sense because they're two different albums. But when the Doggfather originally came out, when the record first hit stores, it had some strong sales. I mean, a lot of record stores were like anticipating this record coming out, and it had some strong sales. I don't know how many sales it had in the beginning. Let me check right quick. Well, it sold 479,000 copies. It debuted at number one during the week of November 12th of 96, selling 479,000 copies, but it failed to match the commercial success of Doggystyle. So I think it kind of stalled at like 2 million. I think Doggystyle did like what, 4 million, 5 million. Yeah, Snoop sold a lot of copies of that record. He sold a lot of copies of that album. But a lot of people they just felt that this album didn't have the same, it just didn't hold up as well as Doggystyle. It didn't have the same impact as Doggystyle, and I can agree with that. I mean, the Doggfather, I mean, it's got a lot of good tracks on here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like some people who think that this is a garbage album. I by no means don't think it's a garbage album, but yeah, it definitely doesn't. It just doesn't have that same vibe that Doggystyle had, and I understand why. And Snoop has even explained this in interviews, that it was because Doggystyle was recorded at a much happier time in his life because Death Row was just blowing up. He was recording his first album, and things were just better at that time. When you listen to Doggystyle, you can tell that everybody that was involved was having a lot of fun in making that record. But you also got to understand that even before Snoop dropped Doggystyle, that he caught that murder case. He caught that murder case. Like, Doggystyle hadn't even came out when he caught that case. I think he might have been still in some of the, I don't know if he was still recording the album or it just hadn't dropped yet, but yeah, Snoop hadn't even came out with his first album when he caught that case. He was already hot. I mean, he hadn't even dropped his album yet, and he was already hot because of the Chronic and the singles that he had dropped from Doggystyle. But the album wasn't even out yet when he caught that case. So his career was close to ending before it even really got started. So for 2 years, man, he was fighting that case. He fought that case for 2 years. And during all that time, he puts out Gin and Juice. He does like the Murder Was the Case soundtrack. He appears on the Above the Rim soundtrack. He's on the Dog Food album by the Dog Pound. He's doing other things, but he still had that trial lingering over him. I'm pretty sure that can weigh. That's gonna weigh on a person having to deal with something major as that, because he was about to lose. He was close to losing his freedom, because there were moments where it looked like he might go down for that. They were talking about, like, was the prosecution? There was news reports where they were talking about, man, we don't plan on dropping any of the charges. So to have something like that lingering over you, that's going to weigh on you. So it definitely changed Snoop. It changed his outlook on life. It made him want to move differently. So he didn't want to live his life the same way that he was. It actually kind of forced him to change the way he was living his life. He became a father. He became a father for the first time during the recording of the Dogfather and everything like that. So now he's got a son. His oldest son is born. I don't know. He might have got married sometime around that time too, but his life was changing. And then by the time that he really got into recording the Dogfather, Death Row was changing. Death Row was crumbling. I mean, Dr. Dre left. Tupac ended up getting killed. Then Suge Knight ended up, I think, violating his probation or something, and he ended up going to prison. So Snoop ended up being like the last guy standing to really keep Death Row going, and he did for a little bit. He released, he did a few things, like they did that Christmas album where he had that song Santa Claus We Come to the Ghetto with the Dog Pound, and I think Badass was on there. He did that song called Midnight Love. There was a few things that Snoop continued to do, even after that. But we all know he eventually left and signed with Master P's No Limit Records, which that really rejuvenated his career, and which really led to the Snoop Dogg that we have today. But I think people sometimes kind of misunderstand the Dogfather. That Snoop. This was like the beginning of, in a lot of ways, of Snoop becoming the more family friendly guy that we know today. Because a lot of people aren't old enough to remember when Snoop was more gangster. A lot of people ain't old enough to remember that. But a lot of people don't even know about that murder case. A lot of the younger generation after me, they just now learning about that, because you see documentaries and stuff on YouTube. I mean, Trap Lord Ross, he did a real good video, I think, like a couple of years ago, about Snoop's case. So a lot of people don't know that. A lot of younger people are more used to the family-friendly Snoop Dogg. Like, the guy that's got the TV show with Martha Stewart and everything like that. People aren't familiar with that. There was a different era of Snoop Dogg where he was kind of scary to some people. And because of a lot of what he was going through at the time, the lyrical content on this album changed. Like, this album really, this is really not a violent album. The Dogfather is really not a violent album, which is pretty ironic if you think about it, because the album's called The Dogfather, which means that you look at the cover and everything, The Dogfather. It's modeled. It's an ode to one of the greatest gangster films of all time, The Godfather. That's what it's an ode to. But the lyrical content on here does not glorify violence. It's a different subject matter compared to what we heard on Doggystyle. If anything, Snoop is being more positive on here. It's almost conscious in some ways, because he's really dropping a lot of positive gems and stuff on here. So I don't think people were really ready for Snoop Dogg at that time, especially with him being on Death Row Records, because Death Row Records did not. That's not the type of image that they had. They had like a gangster image. That's what they had. I mean, you had gang members, real gang members that actually worked for the label. You had gang members that was associated with a lot of the artists there too. So people weren't really ready for that kind of Snoop. But I think in retrospect, people look back on this record and they see what he was trying to do. And it's really a foreshadowing of where he was headed with his career. I mean, it took some years. It was a journey for him to get there. But this was a foreshadowing. These were the first inklings of where he was going to head with his career. So there's 21 tracks on this album. And so the first track on here it's an introduction that's compiled of a bunch of like news reports of Snoop's murder trial and everything like that. And at the end, Snoop, he comes on at the end after everything, and he says, this is dedicated to the ones who said gangsta rap was dead. F y'all. Now it's been speculated that last part was a stab at Dr. Dre. And I don't know. I don't know if that's for sure. I do know that Snoop initially wanted to still work with Dre on this record, and Suge Knight prevented it, because even though Dre had left Death Row, he was still on Interscope Records, and Death Row Records was being distributed by Interscope Records at this time. But Snoop still wanted to work with Dre, but Suge prevented it, and that's a whole nother story within itself that you guys can look into of why that happened. But yeah, it's been said that was like a stab at Dr. Dre, and Dre was at the time denouncing gangster rap and so forth, and saying that gangster rap was dead. You know, he had that single off the Dr. Dre Presents Aftermath album called Been There Done That, where he was pretty much denouncing that gangster rap stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. I know there was a period where Snoop and Dre didn't work together until like 99. So maybe he was, but I don't know if there's any confirmation behind that. So track number 2 is The Doggfather, quasi title track. And this was actually the third and last single from the album. Came out in 97. This was produced by Daz, Snoop's cousin, also one half of the Dog Pound. And also got Charlie Wilson on here. Charlie Wilson of the Gap Band. He sings the hook. I think this was the first album where it really showed. This was the beginning of a long working relationship and friendship between Snoop and Charlie Wilson, man, because they worked together just about on everything since this record. And you know, Charlie did a great job on the hook. He laced the hook. I really like the song. It's a pretty good song. I think it's not. I don't necessarily think it's one of the best singles. I think the other 2 singles were better, but The Doggfather it's a pretty solid song. I mean, it's not exactly one of my favorites. I mean, I like it. I enjoy it. It's not a skippable track for me or anything. It's pretty solid. I like the beat. The beat is like a combination of like G-Funk and mafioso rap in a lot of ways. I mean, there's this really cool piano loop that plays throughout the song that really gives it like that mafia touch, which I thought was good. I thought the beat was pretty nice. I thought it was a pretty solid beat. That's really good to ride to and everything. But Snoop, he's spitting a lot of positivity on this track, man. He makes references to his murder trial. There's one line, is it at the end of the first verse or the second verse, where he says, you know, man, I ain't trying to floss, but murder was the case that they lost. You know, in reference to him beating that murder case that he was fighting for so long. So number 3 is another interlude, another skit called Ride For Me. I thought it was important to talk about so many skits, but this one is a skit where Snoop Dogg is an OG. He picks up one of the little homies, and he basically sends the little homie on a mission to take out a rival. But unbeknownst to either one of them, the rival was already 2 steps ahead of them. So as soon as the little homie goes to try to take out this guy, he's already on him and guns him down, kills him. And you hear Snoop emotionally say, oh man, I done got the little homie smoked. Then it goes to this track number 4 called Up Jump the Boogie, which I think this is a DJ Pooh joint, if I'm correct. Let me check right quick. I think DJ Pooh, it might have been Daz. Nope, yep, it was DJ Pooh. Yeah, DJ Pooh did this one. It also features Corrupt from the Dog Pound, Charlie Wilson is also on this track. I think I think Charlie Wilson might be doing the talk box on this particular song. And Tina Marie is actually on here. I actually forgot about that. I actually forgot that the late great Tina Marie was actually on here. She performs background vocals and she's part of the hook as well. But this is a pretty cool song, man. It's a pretty solid track. I think I like it more for the message aside from the way this track sounds. Cause sometimes I feel like Up Jump the Boogie, it's not a bad song, but I feel like it kind of falls flat sometimes. That's just my personal opinion about it. But it's not a bad song. I like it more for the message because the message behind the song, he's like urging like the OGs and stuff to steer the youth in the right direction. Instead of sending them on the path of destruction, just show them another way, show them another positive way. And he even criticizes a lot of rappers too, who keep regurgitating the same old gangster rap cliches. Telling them they're predictable as Rambo with another clip, asking them how many more people you gonna shoot in your songs and stuff like that. And then there's one part where he says, before I give my before I give my homie a nod, I'd rather give him a mic and show him how to rhyme. Yeah, that's him talking about, instead of me, I'd rather show my little homie that, hey, there's a better way to life and out of the hood. You ain't gotta be out here shooting and killing each other. But that's what I like about the song, more so than what it sounds like than the production. I just think that message really helps carry the song. So track number 5, Freestyle Conversations. I think DJ Pooh produced this one as well, if I'm not mistaken. No, Superfly produced this one. I really dig this song. This was a very interesting song. Freestyle Conversation is just like it sounds. Snoop, he's kicking a freestyle, but the way he does it, the technique he uses and the approach is he does it in a conversational approach. He doesn't do like a regular freestyle that we know of. He does it in a conversational style when he's addressing his audience. And the beginning of the song is really interesting because somebody asked Snoop, they asked Snoop like, yo, man, people saying that your beats ain't gonna be what they is since Dre done shut the speeds out, man. And Snoop responds like, beat, Dr. Dre, beats. Man, I don't give a F about no beat. And then the beat comes in, man. But the beat, man, Superfly really did a good job on the beat. The beat is hard. And the style that Snoop employs on this particular song, man, this is something that he would incorporate into his overall style as the future goes, in the future releases and future songs. Like that more conversational, laid back flow. This was something that he would start to employ more, and it would become a signature part of his style overall. And I think this song is I think it's pretty cool how it's almost like he's just venting about all kinds of things that's on his mind. Like it's not such a structured subject matter on this particular track, but it's almost like he's just venting and getting things off of his chest. Whatever's bothering him, he's just kind of just letting it off his chest. He's talking about all kinds of things. He's talking about how he like the Lakers now because they got Shaq on the team. He's referencing all kinds of things in this particular track. Then he even brings up like some statistics about the plight of black people in the community and street violence and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool track, man. But the beat is hard. I'm not too crazy about Snoop's performance on this song because I kind of feel like he sounded a little bit uninspired. I feel like he could have had a little bit more energy on the song, but then again, that may have been deliberate to keep it within the concept of a freestyle conversation. But that's just my opinion. Number 6, When I Grow Up. This is another like interlude on the album. I want to talk about this because this interlude is interesting because it's actually inspired by one of my favorite movies called The Mac. The Mac was a movie that came out back in the 1970s, 1973, during what they call the blaxploitation era. But The Mac really isn't a blaxploitation film, honestly. But the movie The Mac it was starring Max Julien, the late Max Julien, who passed away, I think, 2 years ago now. But he plays this pimp from Oakland, California, called Goldie. He gets out of prison, he gets in the pimp game, and he becomes hugely successful in pimping. But there's a scene in that movie, a classic scene in The Mac, where these kids are standing outside, and Goldie comes through the hood and gives these kids money. And one of the boys, he talks about how he wants to be like Goldie when he grows up, and Goldie chastises him for that, cause Goldie recognizes the life he living ain't good, and that's what this skit is. You hear, and there's these two women in the scene in that movie that are like kind of talking trash about Goldie, cause one of them saying like, yeah, like every month those kids will get their money, and then the one woman saying, oh man, he's still an effing pimp, something like that. But it's kind of similar in that vein. Like this skit has these two women talking about Snoop Dogg while he's like giving these kids money, and one of the little boys tells Snoop like, hey man, I want to grow up to be just like you, and he's like, nah man, you can be anything you want, man. Don't ever let me hear you say that again, man. You can be a doctor, a Laker, a lawyer. But I thought that was a pretty cool skit, you know. And there's in the background the song playing. I don't know the name of the song, but it's actually a song by the late Jewel, who was also signed to Death Row. So number 7 is Snoop Bounce, and this is one of my favorites on here. I like this song. This is one of my favorites, Snoop Bounce. It samples More Bounce to the Ounce by Zapp. And so the beat hits hard, man. It's real funky. So this brings back that classic G-Funk sound of Death Row right here. The beat is hard, and I think this song has one of Snoop's better performances on the album, because it feels like he had a little bit more energy on this one. Still laid back, but he still got a little bit more energy. I imagine that this beat kind of put Snoop in his zone, and he really killed the beat. I mean, he's in the pocket on here. He's going off, and throughout the song, man, he talks about a lot of stuff, man. I mean, it's sort of braggadocio, but at the same time, he's also making references to like the murder trial, as well as spitting some positivity, you know, about directing the youth in a better way. But there's one line in particular where he says, "What I look like being in jail and I can't rock the mic." You know what I'm saying? So that's another reference to the murder case. You know what I'm saying? So I really dig this song. I thought Snoop really did a great job on that one. All right, so oh yeah, and Charlie Wilson, he's also on this track. Charlie Wilson is pretty much on majority of this album, and he does a great job at lacing hooks and background vocals. So track number 8, Gold Rush. Now Gold Rush this is another one of my favorites. Man, I don't know. I might say that this is my favorite song on this album. I really like this song. I mean, back in the day when I first heard the whole album in full, this was always one of my favorites right here. Dope track, man. Excuse me. I don't know who produced this one. Excuse me. Gold Rush. Oh, I don't know these producers. Kim and Flair. I don't know them. But it features Corrupt from the Dog Pound again, and the LBC crew, who at this time consisted of Technique and Badass. I believe C-Style had left the group at this point. But this is one of the highlights for me on this album, Gold Rush. The production on here is just killer. That beat goes so hard, and I like the music in the background, because the music in the background is just like the type of music you would hear in those old spaghetti westerns. You know what I'm saying? Like the parts where they about to do the duels and everything like that. It's very in line with that, man. But I mean, Snoop's performance on here, it's okay. It's not terrible, but it ain't necessarily the best. But Corrupt kills this track. Corrupt gets a hard verse, and both Technique and Badass from the LBC crew, they really do their thing on here too. So I think if it was Snoop by itself, this song wouldn't be as great. But with the addition of Corrupt and the LBC crew, it really takes this song to another level. But I really thought the production on here was really awesome, man, because it's really inclined with the whole Gold Rush, like that whole 1800s Wild Wild West vibe. That's what it does. It really invokes that. So track number 9, Tear 'Em Off, Me and My Dogs. I think LT Hutton produced this one, actually. Let me check. Yes, LT Hutton. You know what? I used to like this track a lot more back in the day when I first heard this album, but it's all right. It's got a cool beat. But it's not. These days, I don't really care that much about the song. I mean, I'll listen to it, but I just think that Snoop's performance on here wasn't the best. And I don't know if that was his fault or if it was the production's fault. But his vocals just sound really low in the mix, and the production overall just kind of falls a little flat. If the production had been beefed up a little bit more on this track, I think it would have been one of my favorites, because it's not a bad song, but to me it just falls a little flat, and Snoop doesn't really sound all that inspired on here either. It kind of feels like he's just phoning it in, from what I can tell. But it's not, it's decent. It's cool. It's a cool song. So track number 10, You Thought. You know what? I take it back, man. I take it back. Gold Rush is my second favorite on this album. You Thought, track number 10. This is my favorite. This is my number one favorite track on here. This one features Too Short and Superfly, and Superfly produced the song as well. So one of my old friends from back in the day, man, named Centel, he's one of the only other people that I knew that really liked the Doggfather album. Everybody else that was around during that time, they always talked trash about the Doggfather. But I just remember back in the day when I first heard this album, and me and him would talk about it. Me and him both always talked about how this was one of our favorite songs on here. It's just a great song. It's a great song. Like Superfly, Snoop, and Too Short, they're all in player mode on this particular track. But another reason why this song is one of my favorites is because this was the song that really got me into Too Short. This was the song that made me a fan of Too Short. Too Short is one of my favorite rappers of all time, and this song had a lot to do with that. Like even back then, you know, I always knew of Too Short. I knew who Too Short was, but you know, he was a really explicit. Everybody knows Short is known for his explicit subject matter. So as a young kid, I definitely didn't hear a lot of his music. But at this point, when I first bought the Doggfather, I was well aware of who Too Short was. But his verse on here, his particular verse on this track, that is what really made me a fan, because he had the best verse on You Thought. In my opinion, he was the MVP. Now Superfly's verse that's a second set favorite of mine, because his opening verse was really good. I think Superfly is very underrated as a producer and as an MC. He's one of the best MCs / producers in hip hop, and I don't think he gets a lot of recognition for that, because he can spit some fire bars just as produce some great music. But Too Short's verse, I used to know it right off the top of my head. If I was playing the song, I could spit the whole verse. But that, to me, that's one of Too Short's best verses. It's one of his best verses. If I had a list of my top 10 Too Short verses, his verse from You Thought would make probably in the top 5. But that song is what made me a huge fan of Too Short. That's what made me be like, you know what? I really need to dig into Too Short's discography. And lo and behold, he ended up becoming one of my favorite rappers of all time. Now Snoop's performance, I gotta be honest, his performance was my least favorite on here. Cause again, like on the prior song, Tear 'Em Off, Me and My Dogs, he just sounded very uninspired. He just sounded like he really wasn't into it when he recorded it. His vocals, he sounded really low. I mean, some of the stuff he was saying was slick, but he just sounded way too laid back for me. But at the end of the day, man, Too Short was the one that really carried this song to the next level with his verse. I mean, even when it gets to his verse, there's a little section in the song that kind of sets it up for where it's like, okay, Short about to kill this. But yeah, other than that, man, it's still one of my favorite tracks of all time. Track number 11 is Vapors, and this is a remake of the Biz Markie classic. I don't know who did this. DJ Pooh did this one, and Tina Marie and Charlie Wilson also are on here. You know, I'm starting to think maybe Tina Marie, maybe she was signed to Death Row or something around this time. I don't know, but she pops up again along with Charlie Wilson on this track. But yes, this was a remake of the classic Biz Markie track Vapors, which it's like the same thing he did on Doggystyle when he remade Slick Rick's Lottie Dottie. He just alters the lyrics a little bit so it comes from his perspective. And it's actually one of the best songs on the record. It was released as a single. It was the second single from this record, and from what I remember, Vapors was quite successful. They shot a video to it. I think the video is also very similar to the one that Biz Markie did. But it's a great song. Snoop does a great job at remaking and paying odes to like the pioneers of hip hop and his influences, man. But R.I.P. to Biz Markie, man. You know, we just not too long ago lost Biz Markie. What has it been, about a year or two now? But we lost Biz Markie not too long ago, so R.I.P. to him. R.I.P. to the Biz. But that was a great. Snoop Dogg definitely did that song justice. And it was, like I said, it was a remake, but it was one of the most successful singles from the album. And a lot of critics look at that song as a highlight of the Doggfather. Alright, so next track on here is Groupie, produced by Daz, one half of the Dogg Pound. And this song features Charlie Wilson, the Dogg Pound, Nate Dogg, and Warren G. Groupie, this is another one of my favorites on the album. This is probably my third favorite on the record. Just a smooth beat, smooth laid back beat. Daz really brings back that classic G-Funk sound. It's just so smooth and laid back. And of course, the song being called Groupie, everybody's in that player mode on this particular track. I mean, the Dogg Pound, Daz and Corrupt, they both kill it. My favorite part is Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg, his part. I mean, someone's at my door. Oh, tell me who could it be? Just trying to do a little Nate Dogg impression right there. But yeah, Nate Dogg, his part was so smooth, man. The way he laced that track with his vocals. Man, R.I.P. to Nate Dogg too, man. Nate Dogg, man. Miss Nate Dogg, bro. He used to lace hooks, but he was also a great singer in his own right. A lot of people regulate him to hooks, man, but he did his thing. He laced this track. Warren G had a cool verse on here as well. Snoop's verse was it was cool. It was cool. I like his verse on here a bit better than the last couple of songs that I've talked about. He seemed to be a bit more comfortable on this particular track than the other ones. All right, so number 13, 2001. This is another DJ Pooh track. And I'm looking on Wikipedia and I'm seeing that Tupac's name is credited as a writer on here. Maybe, I don't know. There's some DJ scratching on this song, so maybe that's why he's credited as a writer on here. I don't know. I'm just noticing that his name is on this particular song. Tupac, I don't know. Tupac was a writer. He was a songwriter. He used to write for other people, so maybe he might have wrote something on here. Who knows? But yeah, 2001. I think this is a bit of an underrated track, in my opinion. I was reading reviews about this album online, and a lot of people kind of downplay this song. They kind of overlook it. But I think it's one of the best songs on this record. I think the production could have been a bit better, because the song is just a little bit flat. It's just a little bit flat. And Snoop sounds a bit low in the mix. But I don't know if that was his fault, if that's what he was doing. But what I like about the track though is I like how minimal it is. There's not a lot going on. It's a great track. It's got a nice beat to it. Got a nice bass hit to it. To me, this song kind of leans a little bit to the East Coast a little bit, with the minimalist of the track and the DJ scratching during the chorus. That's the way it feels to me. And I like that Snoop had a little bit more energy on this track, because on this song in particular, man, he gets in his pocket and he just rips it. That's what he does. He just rips this song, and he's being very lyrical on this particular track, man. And I mean, his flow and delivery, he's just really into it. I just think that the production kind of hampers the song a little bit more. But to me, it's one of the best tracks on here. I think more people, I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody has their opinion, but I think more people should maybe go back and reevaluate that song, because I think it's one of the better tracks on the album. And I just like it for the minimalist of it, that it gave Snoop a lot more room to really like flex and show off his skills as an MC, in my opinion. So number 14, 6 Minutes. I'm trying to see who produced this one. Kim and Flair. Like, again, I don't know them, but this is a dope track. This is one of the highlights for me. This is another favorite of mine on here, man. As well as my man Centel back in the day. This was another song we used to talk about. I like this track. To me, this track even has a bit of an East Coast lean to it. Probably because in the hook is an interpolation of The Show by Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. It's that part in the song where Slick Rick said 6 minutes, Dougie Fresh, you're on. So Snoop Dogg interpolates that. He says 6 minutes, Doggy Dogg, you're on. And we all know that Slick Rick is one of Snoop Dogg's favorite rappers. But yeah, I like that. I like the keys on the song. The keys on there are just smooth. To me, this is like a laid back East Coast kind of feel. That's the way this song feels. That's why I like this song. And KC, from Jodeci and KC and JoJo. He actually pops up later in the song and performs background vocals, man, which is cool. But one of my favorites, man. I in particular like the ride to that song. I really like the ride to that song. It just has that whole vibe about it. All right, track number 15, OJ, Wake Up. This one features Trey D, another high-profile performance from Trey D, way before the East Side is even formed. So, I was looking at other reviews online, and a lot of people tend to bash this song, Wake Up. And I don't know why. To me, I think it's one of the best songs on the album. They sample It's Like That by Run DMC. They sample the beat. That beat is Like That by Run DMC. So this record has an old school hip hop feel to it, mid 80s old school hip hop feel, and that's something about this. That's something about this album in general that I noticed when going back and listening to it. That overall, Snoop is paying a lot of homage to like the pioneers of old school 80s hip hop. But this is one of the biggest homages that he plays on this particular track. Trey D is the MVP on this track. And honestly, I always thought that this song was a Trey D song that featured Snoop Dogg, but because Snoop was the bigger name, they put it on the Doggfather. That's what I always thought. Because Trey D got like 2 or 3 verses on this track, and then Snoop got one at the end, which honestly I think Snoop's verse was pretty solid. It wasn't better than Trey D's though, because Trey D is one of the best MCs to come out of Long Beach, man, and he really goes hard on this track lyrically. But this is one of my favorites. I always liked this song. Even back in the day, it was one of my favorites. So number 16, Snoop's Upside Your Head. This was the first single from this album. And this is the one that I remember. I really don't remember. Well, I do kind of remember the Doggfather single. I do remember as a little kid, back in the day when this record came out, I do remember seeing the Doggfather video a few times on BET. Don't really remember Vapors. But Snoop's Upside Your Head, I remember that being a very big song when it dropped. The video was always on BET back in the day. It's like every time I would be in my living room watching television, that video would be on. Like, I can remember my mom, because I was a little kid. I was probably like 7 or 8. I remember my mom, she used to make me turn the channel from BET because I would be watching those rap videos so much. And I remember this video was on one day, and I was watching BET, and she told me, "Will you turn that and watch some cartoons?" But yeah, Snoop's Upside Your Head. Even though it was a big single, I always kind of felt like this song is underrated. Like, a lot of people don't talk about this song as much as they do the other Snoop singles. Like, I don't hear about this song as much as What's My Name or Gin and Juice or anything after Death Row. I don't really hear people talk about Snoop's Upside Your Head, and I really think this was a great song. The way that he interpolated and paid ode to the Gap Band's Oops Upside Your Head. And not only that, but it features Charlie Wilson. Charlie Wilson comes on here. I mean, how great is that to feature the originator of the track where you got the inspiration to do it from? But I thought this song was dope, man. I don't know why people don't talk about Snoop's Upside Your Head that much. And DJ Pooh produced this one, and he did a great job, man. I mean, it brings back that G-Funk style that we like so much. But yeah, people don't really talk about Snoop's Upside Your Head that much, and I think it's one of Snoop's best song. And I'm reading right here, and it says this song was released one day after Death Row label mate Tupac Shakur died from the shooting. And you know what? I kind of remember that. I kind of remember that video coming out not long after, like, it was announced that Tupac had died. I remember that. But in my opinion, one of Snoop's best hit singles and very underrated. So track number 17, Blueberry. This one features the Dog Pound and the LBC crew again. Snoop actually doesn't even have a verse on this song. I'm trying to think who produced this one. I'm gonna say Sam Snead. Sam Snead produced this one. Yeah, this features the Dog Pound and the LBC crew. Yeah, Snoop didn't even have a verse on this song. Actually, the Blueberry is actually a dog. It's actually not a Dog Pound song. It's actually an LBC crew song. Anybody that's ever heard that unreleased LBC crew album, Haven't You Heard? Blueberry actually pops up on there. But yeah, Snoop didn't even have a verse on there. He just shows up at the end and gives a little outro. But man, the Dog Pound and the LBC crew, I mean, honestly, they didn't even need Snoop, man. They handled business on that track. I mean, I think my favorite verse on here is probably from probably from Badass. R.I.P. to Badass. He was one of my favorites out of the DPGC. But yeah, I liked his verse. But everybody came real hard on that track. And the song, the production on the song, man, like the eerie and spooky synths, just amazing, man. Sam Snead did a great job on that. Let's see, Traffic Jam. Traffic Jam is just an interlude. It's not as important as the other interludes in my opinion. Although the song that's playing in the background is a track called "Dipping in My Lolo" by the LBC Crew. So track number 19 is Doggyland. So I'm gonna be honest with you. Back in the day, I never liked Doggyland. I don't know why. I just did not like that song. I used to skip it all the time. There was like a few times back in the day where I would actually listen to the song all the way. But for the most part, I would skip it. But these days, I actually really like it. I really do think that Snoop's performance on here wasn't the best. Lyrically, it's cool. Because I like what he's talking about. He's talking about like this utopia of like peace where people ain't got to worry about gang violence and all the stuff that comes with like the real world out there in the streets. But he just didn't sound all that inspired though. And I'm wondering if it's because how he felt inside or if it's just the production. But his vocals just sounded so low, and I felt like if he would have had more energy on that track, it would have came out better. But these days, I really enjoy that track. I really think it's dope. So track number 20 is Downtown Assassins. And this one features I know Trey D's on here and Daz. Yeah, Daz and Trey D. And Daz produced this one. This is a really dope track too, man. This is them giving a bit more social commentary on the hood and the streets, and they rap about all these statistics and everything that's affecting the youth and the people in the hood and so far. Actually, I would say that it's one of the most socially conscious songs on this particular album. But I really like the beat, and I really like the message behind this song as well, man. I thought that was real dope and real positive. And track number 21 is an outro, and it's really taken from the live performance at the House of Blues that Tupac did. That was one of Tupac's last performances before he died at the House of Blues. And I think they're getting ready to perform two of America's Most Wanted, and they're just chanting like yo, ain't nothing but a gangster. What ain't nothing but a gangster. And you hear Snoop talking about, yo, where my nigga Tupac at? And everybody else is on stage. They join in and they start going. And you hear Tupac, ain't nothing but a gangster. And then it opens up with a gunshot, and then it just kind of fades out, which it's pretty eerie, pretty spooky, and it's sad as well, because Pac had died not long before this record that came out. But yeah, 21 tracks, man. That's what ends the album, The Doggfather by Snoop Doggy Dogg. And I guess my final thoughts on this album is that I will agree that this record is not as good as Doggystyle. I can't deny that. I will agree with that. It's not as good. But I also understand that at the time when this record came out, things were changing for Snoop. His label, Death Row, was crumbling. Tupac was dead. Dre was gone. Everybody was leaving, and Snoop was the last man standing. So I sympathize with him with how this album turned out, because I think he did the best that he could, and I feel like he had everybody there in his corner trying to, really carry him, because it's obvious in a lot of the songs and in a lot of Snoop's performances on the song that he wasn't there mentally. He just wasn't there with it because of everything that was happening around him. So when I say that on some of these songs his performance, he didn't give the best performances, I'm not necessarily saying that as a jab or as like a negative critique, so to speak. In some ways, it's more so just acknowledging that, okay, he just really wasn't in the right headspace when he was recording some of these songs, and you can kind of tell that he's kind of just trying to he's doing the best he can with how he's feeling, because this was a dark period. This was a dark period for his career and for Death Row. So I sympathize with it a little bit, man. I don't think the Doggfather is garbage. Cause to tell you the truth, man, going back and re-listening to this album, there's so many cuts on this album that I enjoy. There's so many cuts on this album that I enjoy. I can't necessarily say that the songs are horrible or garbage. That's just my opinion. Yeah, there are some songs that just don't hit the mark, and there are some that do. But I don't know. I think if people really just kind of put themselves and try to understand where Snoop was at this point, I think this album would get better, would get a better look. I'm not saying that it would be better than Doggystyle. By no means is it better than Doggystyle, but I just think that if people kind of saw where Snoop was at this moment in the career, at the moment in his career at this point, they would get a better understanding of why the Doggfather turned out the way it did. But I still think that even though I don't consider it to be one of his best records, because I think there's albums he did after this that were way better. I still think that it's a solid record. I still think it's a solid record. If you go into it in its own, if you look at it as an individual album and not compared to Doggystyle, I think you would kind of appreciate it a lot more, especially if you understand everything that Snoop had went through leading up to this record. So yeah, those are my final thoughts on the Doggfather. I think it's a good record. It's a good record. It's a good record. That's how I put it. It's not the garbage album that I think a lot of people say it is. It's a good record. I think it's an enjoyable record when you listen to it. All right, but that's all that I have for this album review. Hope you guys enjoyed this particular album review on Snoop Dogg's The Doggfather. If you did enjoy this review, just hit that thumbs up and give me a like, as well as share the video. It really helps out with the channel. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap that bell. That way you'll be notified when I drop new content. And I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to everybody that's been watching the videos, that's been subscribing to the channel, that's been showing their support. I really do appreciate it. And as always, hope everybody has a blessed day, a blessed week, and love, peace, and music. Peace out, y'all.